Our next speaker is going to be Mr. Omar Hashi, and the topic of discussion is going to be youth leadership in the Somali Diaspora. Omar is currently a graduate student in Ohio University, pursuing his master's in political science and African studies. He's a youth activist, a writer, a political analyst for the local radio stations in Columbus, Ohio. Please give him a warm welcome.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me start by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity that a lot of Somalis might not have it today, opportunity that is getting together in unity, peace, and pursuit of happiness. Opportunity that is a great access to education, health, and most of the essential necessities in life. One must not take these for granted. Secondly, let me thank to this great institution, the George Mason University, where innovation, they say, is the tradition. And most of all, thanks to the organizers who have taken much of their time putting together this great conference of ours, which we all know that it takes a lot of time, effort, and hard work. So we thank you all for that. And you guys for coming all over the places. I know a lot of you drove hours and hours to get here. And for those of you who are here, who take their time helping the organizers. So thank you, Dan. Thank you. Therefore, I speak to you today as one of you, a youth member, a student, and as someone who had involved in the youth activities for the past few years. And someone who is really wedded to the importance in youth in organizing peacefully. And I will begin with this. In order to understand the youth issues and what building that bridges are, and the true meaning of better tomorrow, one has to first understand what those bridges are, how to build, who is it expected, and finally where those bridges will be taking us, which in this sense is the better tomorrow that we are all striving for. So that is where everything begins for me. So let me begin with who those bridges are for. As you know, our forefathers had responsibility. They took their responsibility seriously. Their responsibility was to give the generation after them something worth of inheritance, the Somali independence. They fought with the colonialism. Some of them were killed, others tortured, and some of them were imprisoned. Through that and many other works, they have achieved their goal. Victory is not a good taste after the struggle, but it is within the struggle that gives victory a meaning. Somalis became independent for some years. We have enjoyed, we have seen good leadership and governance, and finally set records in democracy, militarily, and to some degree economically. Then something happened. Some call it civil war. Others call it greed. And some even call it the absence of moral and nationalistic values and norms. Whatever it was, and whatever you might call it. It took away what our forefathers fought for, what our parents have enjoyed, and what was rightfully our inheritance. Then let me move on to who is expected to build those bridges. Simply, it is you and me, the Somali youth, in the diaspora and at home. In a research I made, I classified the Somalis in the diaspora in 4 groups. And I would like to share with you what those groups are. The first group is those that came in the diaspora and started investing their time in education and envisioned success in life. That's the first group. Those that avoid Somali politics, helping or hurting the poor. Those that avoid the Somali news and believe talking about them or putting some time into it is not useful and waste of time. Those that pursue the diaspora dream, maybe beautiful spouse, big house, big car, cat or dog. Those that avoid, maybe to some sense, speaking our own home language of Somali. And that group, the first group, I will refer them as diaspora dream pursuers. Now let me move on to the second group. Those who came in the States, among other places in the diaspora, and start putting their time in the workforce. Those that see the Somali issue doesn't concern them. The only thing that they have done for their country and their Wadaninimo and their Somali Nimo is to join the heartily conversation in the coffee shops. And those, I will revert them as self-interest pursuers. The third group, those that might lag behind in school and in the workforce. Although some exceptions could be made here and there, those that are more into sports and other social gatherings, their hobbies are intensively private matter to them, as they claim. Those that grew profound admiration for the other cultures, like the hip-hop, among others. And I will refer them as confused in between dreamers, confused in between dream pursuers. And I will move on to the fourth and final group in my assessment. Those that are in schools and they are great in it. They work and run high positions in the places that they work. They have still a good taste and appetite on the social gatherings and stuff and sports, yet they are lost in both, explaining and understanding the plight of their country. They spend almost every free time and sometimes get days off from work and school to help their fellow Somalis and bring peace and stability to their home country. And that group, I will refer them as authentic, responsible, and futuristic pursuers. So those were the 4 groups that I have seen looking at the Somali youth in the diaspora. So now, today our generation have a bigger responsibility. It is not just building or putting back on a broken pieces of a nation, but also leaving something for the generations. And these are not in theory, but in practicality. Building those bridges for better tomorrow is our generational responsibility. Now let me move on to how to build those bridges, having understand who is expected and what those bridges are. It is our generational responsibility to pave a way for better tomorrow, eliminate all the obstacles, one between us and one ahead of us. Each and every one of us, regardless of where we are or where we might be from, is a pillar to that bridge. And the strength of that pillar will determine the muscle of the bridge to nationhood, Somalinimo, and Wadaninimo. My friends, It takes education to achieve a personal power. It takes courage and confidence to stand out of a crowd. It takes willingness and responsibility to lead a generation. Good intentions and grand ambitions has no place in history if action are not embedded. So finally, where those bridges that I am talking about are taking us, where those bridges, which we base our whole conference in building it, taking us. Our interest and ambition is to go where everybody is going, and every nation on this earth is going. That is tomorrow, a better tomorrow, and better future. To get a nation that can stand tall and strong among her peers, a nation that is built by her citizens, a governance that is based on our religion, culture, and the rationality of democracy, a nation that can cope with the international system, a nation that is compatible with the 21st century politics, a nation that lacks the most archaic, outdated form of social organization that we have lately become known for. And finally, a healthy society that is strong enough to produce good leaders. Leaders that understand these issues and can speak about them. Leaders that can identify Somalis only with talent. Leaders that can identify Somalis with talent. The future belongs to no man. Tomorrow will come. It doesn't wait for any man. It is not much of a choice, better tomorrow or the same. What tomorrow we choose, that is a choice. And that is what we want. And that is what the Somali youth want. We have to start working for it today to make it possible tomorrow. And let's remember, the progress and the development that we make today will be measured on a human scale. The number of beds in the maternity hospitals, number of chairs and books available to the school children, care available to the sick, elderly, and the needy, water for the thirsty, food for the hungry, and shelter for the homeless. Those are the measures that our progress will be measured on. We cannot only run on faith, nor can we live on hope. We cannot expect better tomorrow, nor can we revive our nationhood, our Somalinimo, our Dadnimo, with just mere ambitions and grand intentions. It is the action, our action, that will count. Thank you again for listening.